Your favorite noise, that's the sound I love. It means it's time for doubling down. We finally have a new guest for 2025. We've kicked Vinny out. Vinny's in Florida celebrating the new Universal Park.
Hi, Vinny. Have fun.
That's right. He's enjoying the sun, although we're finally getting some sun up here in Boston.
Finally, about time. It's about time.
Feeling very nice.
Yes.
So I welcome back Sean Patrick Nolan. You all know him as Spin. And Sean, when I started doing podcasts, you were the first person. I don't even remember how I stumbled across you on X, but I did. And I said, hey, totally out of the blue, would you be willing to kind of come on and do a show with me? And it was the very first one that I did. And I look back as we tape episode 98 here, as we lead up to episode 100. And A, it's been a while. And B, I have been so fortunate to be friends with you as we've talked. I talk to you now more than ever in the chat, and your positivity and what you bring and the support you've given me has certainly encouraged me to keep doing this. So first off, thank you for all of that, which was about 100 episodes of Doubling Down and a couple episodes of another show I was trying to do at the beginning. You're so welcoming to everybody, and I want to say thank you because we don't always take the time to do that. And you're so nice and kind in sending thank you outs on X and happy birthdays. So when I have you on, I said, I got to thank Sean for the encouragement and getting me this far. And here's to another 100, as they say.
Absolutely. And you've done an amazing job, bro. And honestly, it's a pleasure to know you. And I remember the big board that came when I was on the first show, the big board, and you've come a long way, but you've done amazing stuff with your programming. And by the way, folks, just let me say, he is nominated for an Emmy up here in Boston too. So not only is he fantastic at what he does with this stuff and Doubling Down, he is also nominated for Nesson. So my man, you have done incredible. It's a pleasure knowing you, and it's awesome to see everything you've done. Your productions are amazing.
Thank you.
Not just on here, on Nesson too. Exactly.
That's right. Well, I'll be finding out while the Belmont race is going on is when I will be at the award ceremony.
Fantastic.
So the guy at the table with my phone underneath, watching. Maybe if I win, I'll integrate that into my speech, right? A little
absolutely
little sovereignty for the people at the New England Awards.
Yes, exactly.
So, big things coming up here. I'm working on some big things in the background for Doubling Down for the next 100 episodes. All kinds of maybe new swag, new gear, new logos, maybe even a new destination. We'll still always be here on Trust the Profits, but a little tease of some other stuff that might be coming. So excited to do that. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Sean, me and Vinny have a little standings going for 2025. So we're both in the green. We both missed out last week. My top pick in the second leg, Fact, actually ran really well. He was a favorite, of course, and ran at a low price. But I had in a maiden special weight, I'm pretty good in those races. Was able to pick him off. I should have went more shallow in that second leg, but me and Vinny both did not make it through with the horse that we left off, which was the I can't think of the name. It's escaping me in the moment here. Actually, I have it right here. It was the Marksman Queen for Graham Motion.
Marksman Queen, yes.
A horse that we both thought that the distance was maybe going to be a little too long. And I texted Vinny right away. And I said it on the show, whenever I see these horses fade at a longer distance, I fade them at the shorter distances or vice versa. And of course, he's the one that we both said was first off our ticket, and he beats us to get home. So we dropped down a little bit, but we're both in the green. Vinny's going to survive another week because he doesn't have the pressure of having to.
Absolutely.
So we decided to go to Churchill, Sean. Churchill on Saturday has a really great card. We're going to go with race 9 and race 10, the Arlington Stakes and the Blame Stakes. We'll start off leg 1 with the Arlington Stakes. We have a field of 8. And Sean, I thought it was a very competitive group. Both of these legs, I think, were very competitive. I ended up with some kind of shorter prices, but I feel like as I was handicapping it, the fact that I could go so many different ways makes me think the public might also go so many different ways. So although we're using some shorter prices, I think you might get paid pretty nicely with these two fields back to back. We'll start with that Arlington Stakes. It's a 1.16 miles on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. I have a favorite in here who I couldn't not include on my ticket. That's the 5 Laganos. This is a horse who started off on the dirt. Remember on the Derby Trail a few years ago when they got to the Rebel, they realized he wasn't a dirt horse. They put him on the turf, and he's done really well since. He's got a second in a grade 2, a first in a grade 3. First time off the bench in 2025, I thought was too long. He's getting back to that mile in the 16th distance where I think he's best. And Sean, the progression that I saw in his 3-year-old season, we'll zoom here on the speed figures for you: 88, 83, 90, 99, 95, 100, 97. Right, nice progression.
Yeah.
Works all the way up to a 102, a 109 in December, then takes a couple months off, comes back in April at Keeneland. And those figures, although lower than the 109, there's a nice baseline to start as a 4-year-old.
Sure.
For Laganos, Flavian Prado board for Steve Asmussen. Laganos is a horse that I'm going to include on my ticket. Not crazy about 92, but he's kind of a little horse that I love. And so I'll start with Laganos. I thought you said when you come on the show, you would put your biases aside, but then you sent me your ticket and I said he didn't put his bias aside. So where do you want to start?
Well, it all starts with the 9, Hurricane Birdie. That is the Brilliant Birdie. Excuse me. I mean, 4 for 4 at Churchill Downs. When this horse gets on that turf course, just becomes an absolute monster. Brian knows this horse so well. Brian Hernandez Jr. for those folks out there. Knows this horse so well. Sherry DeVoe, I really think you can tell already by her numbers at Churchill Downs that the Keeneland meet was just a blip on the radar screen, and that she's totally over that. Her horses are running very well again, and I think this horse is just too tough for this group, and I think it starts and ends with the Brilliant Birdie.
This was Brilliant Birdie's last race. She's the 9, and Laganos there is actually, sorry, Laganos is the 10, Brilliant Birdie is the 9. They end up in a nice stretch duel.
They do,
here, on May 1st at Churchill. And Brilliant Birdie gets the best of Laganos on this day. With Brilliant Birdie really had a solid gallop out of this race as well.
Yeah.
So I included the 9 as well. Those are the 2. I was really close to singling the 9.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I decided to use Laganos really at the last second. I said I'm going to keep 1. And where else did you go? You decided to add 1 more as well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And yeah, there's actually not bias in this. I tell people this. I play with my heart and I play with my wallet are 2 different things. Exactly. The thing I like about Cameo Performance, yes, he's an Oscar performance.
There we go. I'll highlight it for the people.
There it is. Right. But you know what I really like about this is that he came in 3rd at Fairgrounds in a grade 2. This is a grade 3. Okay. And what I really like, I like the change to Ben Curtis. Ben Curtis is really riding that Churchill Downs, and this is why I threw him in. Ben Curtis is really riding that Churchill Downs and the Kentucky turf courses very well, right? And this is, he's going back down to a 3, and even the grade 3 they ran at Kentucky Downs, chuck that out. Some horses just hate Kentucky Downs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm throwing that race completely out. Came back off the layoff, nice 3rd. Ran in a grade 1, I mean, at Church, I mean, Spirit of St. Louis. Now, you could say we call Mercante's in here, you know, so obviously Mercante was one to watch out for too. But I just think that they're a little bit underneath Birdie and all that stuff. But just for a long shot, I threw the 2 in. Ben Curtis is riding so well right now on that turf course that I just had to throw him in at 6-1 just for a long shot.
Yeah, for me, I was just concerned about the RaceLens stats. Brendan Walsh with Ben Curtis, only 8% out of the last 36 starts, scared me away. And a little bit of a cold streak, at least over the last 10 days. This was 0% yesterday, so he must have won.
He did. He did. That's why I threw him in. He's starting to ride again on that Churchill Downs turf with confidence like he was doing, and that's why I threw him in. When he gets hot, he gets hot.
Yeah, you mentioned Mercante. That was a horse I was really also debating. Like I said, Brilliant Birdie to me was almost a single, but I was just a little hesitant because of some other horses that were in here. Mercante had a really nice effort at 13-1. Actually, it was 13-1 in the last 2 starts, including that victory at Turfway.
Yeah.
Then came back with that really nice run in the Old Forester against Spirit of St. Louis.
Sure.
That was a grade 1 where he finishes 3/4 of a length just behind Spirit of St. Louis. I wondered if this horse kind of needed a target in front of him. And that was something that I wrote down, was who actually wants to lead in here. There's a lot of horses that are poorly placed.
Yeah.
But I
and
couldn't really.
Could definitely be one of them. Yeah, but he needs that's why I was saying this. What if he gets out by himself? And he's usually used, as you just so rightfully put, what if there's no target in front of him and he's the target? He's not used to that. He's used to sitting right off, and he could be the speed in here. You know what I'm saying? That's why I did not use him, because I said he may be in an unfamiliar situation.
Yeah, and I really, like I said, I don't know who necessarily. There's horses that are poorly placed, but I don't know that there's anyone that's comfortable on the lead necessarily.
No,
so
exactly.
Although there's not a lot of pace, and that's what you might want to look for Brilliant Birdie, I thought maybe it's still going to work out in that horse's favor.
Sure.
The only other long shot I was kind of intrigued by was the number 7, Silent Heart, for Brian Lynch.
Sure.
What's wrong with losing behind Carl Spackler, Fort Washington, who just came back to win, and Vinny was on top of that horse two back. Some increasing speed figures, of course. There was the 3rd in the grade 3, 11 for 13 in the money. Maybe he's in a little bit too deep, but at 10-1, I think he's going to float up. Could be one. I'm not going to include him on the ticket, but was one that definitely piques my interest.
Sure. Yeah. I love Lynchy. But when I was doing my notes, I said, does this horse love Gulfstream? Is it just a Gulfstream lover? You know what I'm saying? He runs so well at Gulfstream, but when he goes to other places, he's a little short. You know what I'm saying? So I said, versus this group, would he love the Churchill Downs? That's why I left him off. But if Lynchy ever wins, I always love my man from down under.
There you go. We'll move on to the second leg. That is the Blame Stakes for 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile and an eighth on the dirt. Class rating of 115 according to RaceLens. We'll take a look at true odds from RaceLens. They give the number 6 Hall of Fame a 28% chance of winning, with the 8 banishing at second. The pace projects to be a slow one according to RaceLens, with the advantage going to the horses that will be close to the early pace. We get an excellent rendition of the Blame Stakes, in my opinion. I went through, and I think you could go many, many different ways, which is evident in going 4 deep. This was a race won by Highland Falls last year in 2024. And Sean, we get the return of, well, I shouldn't say the return. He has raced one time this year, but you get a Kentucky Derby winner with Mystic Dan, your number 4. At 4-1 for Ken McPeak and Brian Hernandez aboard. I feel like it's a really great spot for Mystic Dan, personally. He was the only horse that ran in all 3 Triple Crown races last year, right? As we're in the middle of the Triple Crown now, we know how grueling that might be, and maybe that's the reason you play against journalism in the Belmont, is what's have the 2 previous efforts taken out of him. Obviously, then went over and flew out to California and ran in the Malibu. There was some time off between those, but who knows if the travel was really what he wanted, and going 7 furlongs probably wasn't what he wanted. And I just don't really feel like that was necessarily a spot for him. Comes back in the Pegasus and, really was never in the picture there. Comes back, it's Brian Hernandez aboard, and has a really nice effort. I understand it's a stakes race, 200,000, but he ends up putting, Sean, that's why it's circled in blue here, his highest Equibase speed figure of 116, even better than his Derby effort. And to me, I think he's in a good spot here in the Blame Stakes. You decided to pass.
I did. And until he runs and that was a big effort, by the way. So do not take any credit out. The other thing is, if you kind of notice this, does it seem like every horse that's coming from Oakland is just running flat when they go they just don't seem to be running as much as I thought they would, So I didn't know if that was more him loving Oakland, or, what I'm saying, or was it, what I'm saying? So I'm going to still take the wait and see approach. If he wins, it's fabulous for Kenny McPeak. It's fabulous for racing to have the Derby champion back, and I will tip my hat to him. But I'm just more thinking that Oakland race was more Oakland than actually him. You know what I'm saying? And versus this group, I'll take a wait and see effort to see that he can put 2 to back together. But if he wins, it's great for racing to have the Derby winner back in the picture for sure.
Yeah, and the one argument I would say though is that he's 2 for 3 at Churchill, so
Yeah.
getting back
No, he
to
loves
a
the
track
course,
that
and
he
that's
likes.
so big. That's so big, just like Sovereignty, you and I in the Derby. If you love the track, you're gonna run big. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Absolutely. So not on top for me, but he is going to be on my ticket. Who would you like to start off with on your ticket in leg 2 here?
Yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting race here. Exactly. So the first horse that I was kind of looking at was I really love Post Time.
Mm.
He could have run in that loaded Met Mile. You know what I'm saying? And but Brittany and Sheldon uh, chose to go to Churchill Downs. He's got the big stretch, got the big turns. He's a big boy, as you know, and I love this animal. And I just think this is the perfect spot for him. I mean, look, he ran great. He ran against Locked, and the Cigar Mile was flying there, barely missed in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile to So I just think this horse is coming up to a big effort. Sheldon knows this horse better than anything, and I think he will like that Churchill Downs track with the big sweeping turns for him. And I think he's gotten a year older. I think he's got a chance to mature. They said he's doing great, and I think this horse is going to be ultra tough in this race.
Yeah, first time through, I left Post Time off. And then when I did my handicapping last night, then I like to go through and refresh my memory before we start the show. And I made a change. And the change, you'll be very disappointed in my change for what it was worth, but I'm glad to hear that you like Post Time, because that was the horse that I swapped Antiquarian for.
Yeah.
Was taking Antiquarian off of my ticket and adding in Post Time, most notably because of how competitive this horse has been at that grade 1 level. And like I said, I really felt like you could go so many different ways here. And when I went back through it, I just decided to include Post Time as well for a lot of the same reasons that you did. A horse that will be coming from off the pace. I worry my ticket ended up with a little bit of too many short prices, because I kind of went a little too probably wide here with some of these favorites. But Post Time was one that I think absolutely could take it here. So Post Time is on the ticket for both of us. The other horse that's my on top pick was the number 8 Banishing.
Yep. I have him too.
Love this horse. This horse is awesome. I love how versatile he is. So we talked in the last race about who would want the lead. Well, Banishing is a type of horse that has done well on the front end, has done well just off the pace, and has done well closing, like he did in the Churchill Downs Stakes on Derby Day, finishing second in that really thrilling rendition, a neck behind Mind Frame, and the dead heat with Nisos. Grade 3 winner, first or second in his last 9 races. Flavien Prat stays aboard, is actually back aboard, I should say.
Back aboard, yep.
And Banishing is another one. Laganos and Banishing are kind of 2 of my top 10 horses. So when you get them back to back, I'm not gonna leave them out.
He's also got speed, which is, I think, on this Churchill Downs track is just so important. And who's better to rate and with speed than Flavien?
Yeah. Look at these efforts of speed figures too, Sean.
Yeah, no, very impressive.
113, 114, 115, 116.
And he's just getting better. I think he's just getting better,
Yeah. So I use Banishing. Where do you want to go next? You want to go to your other bias pick?
No, I got 3 in here. I got 4 in here, my friend. Exactly. I'll save the best for last, my friend. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So and my other pick was so I had Post Time. I went with the 2 and Alexander Helios, just as kind of like a long shot play. You get Irad to come in and ride this horse, okay? And even if you look at the Oaklawn Handicap Grade 2, I mean, he just didn't get close up. He's got to win the second at Churchill Downs. And I know his numbers are going to have to improve. You know what I'm saying? But if Safi's Safi's on fire right now, and if he thinks that this horse is going to get a piece, and Irad is willing to come in and ride for him, and even this weekend, Irad was doing great for Safi out in the West Coast, I threw him in. He loves the track, and I've seen stranger things happen there. And if he can get like a rating trip, he might surprise the group at a price. So I think 6-1 Safi Irad is worth throwing in.
Yeah, the two. This number just jumped out at me as you were talking through. I was looking into the dam stats. 22 wins and 85 starts on the dirt routes. And I noticed Rumbauer on here.
Yep.
So sharing the same dam, and then Treasure Trove has quite a few victories as well. So some nice pedigree there on the dam side on these dirt routes.
Yep.
This horse took a while to break the maiden, but my notes were that he's really had a strong 4-year-old season. So interested to see can keep it up through his 5-year-old season as they start to get in deeper with some grade 3s and grade 2 races.
Yeah, no doubt.
All 10 entries in this race, Sean, have a graded win.
Yeah, which is so impressive. Yep. This is a great race.
Okay, who's up next?
All right, that would be my boy. Okay,
actually, hold on. I'll let you finish off. I'm going to start with Hall of Fame, and then we'll
go ahead.
We'll get to your boy.
Oh boy, here we go.
Mr.
Moneyburner.
I know. I didn't think this would be a horse I liked. I really don't. He's always been one that I faded. I went back and watched that last race, the Alashiba, on May 2nd, finishing behind Fierceness, who was the absolute beast that day. And Most Wanted had a really strong effort in that race, finishing second. I would be lying if I love that Jose's back aboard, for one thing.
No, he's been, second, first with him. There's nobody who's been better with him, you know?
And then that race was a mile 16, Sean. They come back here for a mile and 1/8. And when I did watch the replay, Hall of Fame is third here at 7-1. It was actually the gallop out that I kind of watched through after this race.
Sure.
This horse galloped out much further.
Yes.
Going to pass Most Wanted, going to go right past Fierceness as well here. I mean, look at him right here. It's just really looking.
He still wants to run.
Nice stride, and he wants to go.
Still wants to run. Yeah.
You know, so getting Jose back aboard on a horse who I think is going to appreciate the added distance.
Sure, absolutely.
And, 8-1 on the morning line.
Yeah.
I know you say money burner. If he's a favorite, then I don't.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But he's 8-1, and then like I said,
that's value.
When we started this, RaceLens has Hall of Fame as adjusted true odds should be 5-2.
Yeah,
and the 28%.
I think you're going to get closer. I think you're going to get 3-1, 4-1 on Hall of Fame. You're not going to get 8-1 on him. I think he'll be down there, especially with Jose taking the mount again. No one's hotter than Jose, especially at Churchill. You know.
3-1, I'm a little skittish.
Yeah,
even 6-1.
I think 3-1, 4-1.
I'm good.
Yep. Oh yeah, 6-1. Fire away.
So I'm gonna go Hall of Fame, Banishing, Post Time.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to end Mystic Dan. So those are my four. All right, we should do a drum roll for Sean's last pick on the list.
Okay, here we go.
Have at it,
my boy, Antiquarian. Here we go. Okay. So obviously I have a little background with this horse, no doubt. But I will say this, and obviously, let's be realistic, folks. Okay, I threw him in on my ticket. He's got to step up big time. There's no doubt about it. He's really got to step up his game. There's no and ifs or buts about it. What I really like about this horse, people forget. Number one, in the Belmont, he was actually very close, but he hadn't run that many races before. So he was still learning. Everyone remembers Sierra Leone wiped out Antiquarian coming down the stretch, and he was out the rest of the year because of it. He got really, really hit hard. And Johnny V has always loved this horse. And for him to come in, what they did, which is very smart, and this is why we're going to get the real acid test. We're going to see what the real Antiquarian is. What I love about this horse is that they gave him the entire rest of the year off. He could have come back in September, but they said, no, we're going to give him the rest of the year off with that 4-year-old campaign in mind, right? And when we saw at Gulfstream, I know he wasn't facing like the biggest monsters or whatever, but I like the fact he was up there. The times were fast, but he still stayed there, he looks bigger, he looks stronger. And Todd purposely gave him the rest of the year off with the 4-year-old thing. And you get Johnny V to come in and ride him once again, and he's always had tremendous confidence in this horse. So given that, I think at his price especially, do I think he's the favorite to win? No. I think he's got to step up. But can he win? Absolutely. And the fact that Johnny V comes in to ride him speaks tremendous volumes.
I always listen to Sean when he talks about horses, and this is one he's been talking about for a long time, all the way back to last year. So we've had our eyes on this horse because of Sean here on the channel. But he was on my ticket, like I said, until today, and then I decided to swap.
And I understand that totally. It's a total valid move. The other thing I will say too about the preservationists is, if you remember, preservationists had trouble at 2, had trouble at 3, had trouble at 4. All of a sudden he hits 5, and then he hits 6. Then all of a sudden he became the monster that just couldn't be beat. He beat the Suburban. So as the preservationist babies get older, they get better. Just like all the Halo, all his dad and everything did. So, and that's definitely something in his favor. The older they get, the better they get.
Yeah, ultimately it was exactly what you just said, is that for me, I wrote down the figures really have to improve.
They have to, but they have to be very realistic, folks. I always separate my heart from betting. You know what I'm saying? And he will have to step up big time. Can he? Absolutely, but it's a big task.
Yeah, we talked. I mean, you look at the grade 1, and obviously you talked about the trouble that he had in that race.
Yeah.
The grade 2, not a huge sample size, so we'll take that with a grain of salt. But when we go back and talk about what we talked about with a horse like Post Time or Banishing, who were really competitive at these grades.
You have to step up.
You kind of know that they're at that level.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're waiting to see if Antiquarian.
Even the Most Wanted there, exactly, out there on the outside. You know what I'm saying? You gotta really gotta step up. You know what I'm saying? I think Most Wanted is gonna bounce off that Fierceness race. That was a track record by Fierceness, and Most Wanted stayed with him every step of the way. Can this horse put 2 horse races together after a huge effort like that with Fierceness? I'm not even crazy about Fierceness in the Met Mile. I think that effort, even after a track record, is going to be tough, for him to be on short or west. But I think Most Wanted, he was right there step for step with Fierceness for that track record. I think we could see a bounce here.
Well, I hope so I hope so for Hall of Fame, for my Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So
there you have it. We're on the board. Sean, you're going to go 2-9 with the 2-3-8-9, and I'm going to go 5-9 with the 4-6-8-9. As me and Vinny say, we always love it when we both have a chance to win, and we both have a chance to win.
We both do. Absolutely.
Sean, how are you going to play this? You texted me. We always do a dollar base bet on here on the show. What are you thinking personally on your budget?
Yeah, I'm not going to make it huge. You know what I'm saying? I'll make it probably like maybe $4 or $3. They make it like a $32 ticket, a $24 ticket, something like that. I'm not going to go huge in these races because, as you said, there's 4 horses or 5 horses in each race that you literally could win. You know what I'm saying? Then that you left off and could do the big show on Saturday. So I'm going to keep it pretty limited. And hope that I can get, especially with Birdie. If I get Birdie, then I think I got a good chance there. A couple of flyers, but a couple of solid picks that I think could be right there at the end.
Absolutely. Sean, we'll take 2 quick minutes. First off, this is my first show since the news with Christophe Clement, so my condolences listening to the Steve Bick show, what everyone has had to say about Christophe and listening to the stories. You don't really appreciate how great they are when they're around, and you go through weeks like this and you realize, or a week like this, and you realize how special they are to the sport. It's been a really tough year for big names that we've lost. So definitely want to send my condolences to the family. Miguel was on the show this week, and to Acacia and everyone that is touched by the Christophe Clement stable. And then Sean, we also had the news just coming out today with Breeders' Cup going to Keeneland and New York, 26 and 27. Thoughts on that, on those stories?
Oh, well, obviously going back to Keeneland. Keeneland's beautiful, and hopefully they'll have all their construction done, and which will make it great. 20 years in the making, folks. This shouldn't have taken this long. Big Sandy's been way overdue for the Breeders' Cup. Right, it can be cold in Lexington, it can be cold other places. Exactly. It's the Mecca. It's going to be the new Belmont. It's going to be so excited. I cannot wait. 20 years in the making, and it'll be worth every single minute. We might even have our first poly-track Breeders' Cup race. Who knows exactly? Because they'll have a poly-track. So who knows, you know?
Yeah, why not? I love the renditions I've seen of it. Really excited about some of these new tracks that are coming. Gives us a whole new reason to travel to all different new parts of the East Coast with Pimlico and Belmont, and looking forward to it. So, Sean, look out for Sean up at Belmont Stakes if you're heading up to Saratoga. We'll catch up again on Whitney weekend. Sean, again, thank you so much for taking the Doubling Down challenge.
My pleasure, my bud. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Everyone else, please hit that subscribe button. Sean is live Tuesdays and Thursdays with Tuesday Night Lights with Assiniboia Downs, Thursday night with the Lounge. Assiniboia has been tough lately. We'll get to it. We'll get back.
We'll get them.
Everyone else, please put in the comments who you like for this daily double. Until next time, good luck, everyone.